Hey everybody, I'm Ben Higgins.
Hey, I'm Serena Pitt.
Hey, this is Blake Moynes.
Hi, this is Alana Milne.
Hey, I'm Lindsay Hamilton.
And you're watching the Bros Ceremony.
And you're watching the Bros Ceremony.
And you're watching the Bros Ceremony.
And you're watching Bros Ceremony.
And you're watching the Bros Ceremony.
This is the Bros Ceremony.
Your journey's about to begin.
Recapping the week that was in Bachelor Nation and previewing what's to come in the next episode with some special betting odds.
Everyone can't wait to find out what happens next week.
Here are your hosts, Michael the Hound Dog Harrison and Adam Scully.
Will you accept this rose?
Will you accept this rose?
Will you accept this rose?
Time is opportunity. Hello and welcome inside episode 25 of the Bros Ceremony podcast. Adam Scully alongside Michael the Hound Dog Harrison. Hair again is looking quite nice there, Michael. Now, I know generally speaking off the top, I go a little longer with my spiel. I have some sort of longer phrase, longer line, but I'm not doing that this week. You know why? Because we have a jam-packed episode. We have someone who was one of the last men sent home by Katie before hometown dates. He's going to join us momentarily on the show. Michael, it's a big show.
Yes, he was absolutely outstanding, just like the nicest guy of all time, perhaps present company excluded, of course, or not. No, I think he is a nicer guy than you, actually, Adam. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. But no, just the nicest dude for sure, and just a phenomenal interview. Just had tons and tons of fun, and so excited that you guys will be able to see how awesome this guy was, because as we know on the show throughout the season, he didn't really get a ton of airtime, a ton of screen time. That's a little teaser. And so this episode perhaps will be able to shed some more light on the fact that he is absolutely a total beauty.
And who is that man? Only time will tell. We'll tell you very shortly. But Michael, before we speak to our guest, on last week's show was started with the hometown dates, and there was a little men tell all afterwards as well. And we sort of predicted what was going to happen, not calling ourselves brilliant, but I'm going to call ourselves brilliant because Michael A, obviously the storyline, he has James, his son, and James and Michael had a FaceTime, and basically there was a moment for Michael where he realized that he needed to be a dad and need to go home. And he went up to Katie and said, sorry, but this is it for me.
Well, yeah, you said the hometown dates. They didn't even get to the hometown dates.
That's right. Oh, you're right.
Which was sort of confusing though, because in the sense that, obviously I don't know the timeline. I don't know if of the 4 hometown dates, if Michael would have been the one that she went to 4th in the list of hometown dates or what. But don't you think they could have? I was kind of like, okay, hometown dates are literally, I think, a day away. Couldn't she go to his hometown first and then he'd be able to see his son, and then they could see if they can continue their love journey together? I was sort of like a little perplexed as to what that was all about.
Yeah, and then you had mentioned last week as well that you saw the preview coming up and that someone who was still on was in the preview. Was that Michael? Because I actually didn't see it, and I was saving myself for that.
No, actually, but now come to think of it, that little scene that they showed, like for coming up this next episode, it was someone, and they didn't even show that. We didn't see this at all in the actual men tell all at all. Come to think of it. It was someone like ripping off their pants.
Oh.
And it looked like it was either it looked like it was a Mike, the other Mike.
Yeah. Who wasn't
Mike,
there?
Exactly. He wasn't there for some reason as a thing. Or it could have been Connor, and neither one did it. So it's like, I don't understand. If you look at the previous episode, someone ripped off their pants in like a whoa for the preview, and it was neither of the guys, I was saying, because that never even happened at all in that episode. So I have no idea. So I'm even more confused with that. But no, it was not Mike though. Michael, sorry. But yeah, obviously he left, and I just kind of help but think, like, did she already maybe think she might have been sending him home anyhow? Like, if she really felt strongly like he's my number one absolute for sure, maybe they would have found some compromise to make this work or whatever. And I think perhaps they knew that it wasn't going to work out in the end.
Yeah.
So they decided to do this for a bit more drama for the show.
Yeah, and then once the actual men tell all occurred and Michael was there, and Tayshia and Caitlin had the conversation with Michael saying, would you give it a second chance? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And then when Katie showed up, they told Katie this, and she said, well, I'm happy with the way it's gone. Sort of taking the high road, but sort of just following her heart, if you will. Now, Michael, there were a number of the men there at the men tell all, not all the guys there, which was a little confusing in itself. highlights from the men tell all. I mean, Connor, are you a good kisser? That was a little on the cringeworthy side of things.
So dumb, just so dumb. Oh, there's a person. There happened to be a microphone there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a random person from the audience just happened to talk to him. I was like, oh man, they're really reaching for filler content here. Apparently, I think someone was saying online they'd messaged quite a bit beforehand.
Oh,
And she was messaging him. They both were messaging back and forth. So obviously, it wasn't some random woman he happened to be checking out, as he said, at the Men Tell All taping. So this is obviously preordained, clearly, from a long time before. So, but I did like, though, was the other men like cheering him on as if they actually were surprised by this. And perhaps they were. It's possible the other men were surprised by that. But there's a 0.00000% chance that Connor was surprised by any of that.
yeah, that was interesting to see for sure. And I know he was getting some flack online for the kiss. And, you know, there were some,
But it wasn't good, you mean? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. But another star of the Men Tell All was Brendan, Toronto's own. Of course, we're recording the show in Toronto. Brendan and Carl, who we've also mentioned on the show, had a little back and forth. They got into each other's grill a little bit. It kind of seemed like they were kidding, kind of seemed like it wasn't. But Brendan was a fascinating guy on this season. We didn't see too much of him, but he clearly had a big piece of Katie's heart. And Katie sent Brendan home. I believe he was the 7th guy left standing and didn't get a chance for hometown dates. Obviously, that's coming up tonight. But Michael, now joining us on the show is Brendan Scanzano himself. We'll discuss his time on the show. We'll look ahead to what's to come for Brendan and a whole bunch more. What do you say? Should we go to the interview?
Let's absolutely do it right now. Bang.
Bang.
Cheers to the first group date.
And we're pleased to welcome Brendan from this season of The Bachelorette to the show. Brendan, welcome to the Bro Ceremony.
Gentlemen, thanks for having me. It's an honor. Thanks for making this happen. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely.
Thank
For
you.
being here. So just how much has your life changed since being on The Bachelorette?
It's a good question. I mean, I think it hasn't changed too much, but definitely when you go out, you get recognized quite a bit. And it's a cool thing. You know, you don't realize the magnitude of the show or the fans or who watches it. You'll have anyone from 60 to 70-year-olds noticing me and taking photos with people to, people that are like, 19, 20, 21. And it's cool. I mean, you get a lot of free drinks out of it when you're at the bar, which is good. It's a cool thing. But yeah, man, I think just giving everyone the time of day. I know Bachelor Nation's like this amazing big family cult, with fans. So yeah, I think getting noticed when you hit the streets is probably the biggest game changer. And we'll see where life takes me in the next few years.
And what was the audition process like? Like, how'd you get selected to be on the show?
Yeah, I applied. I mean, I was the only single buddy in my friend group. I mean, Blake and I, and I'm sure we'll dive deep into that. But yeah, I think, Thursday night hockey, our buddies, my brother as well, he would say, if there's anyone that can do a television show and potentially find love out of it and deal with everything afterwards, it would be Blake and Brendan. And then that's something that I know he applied for his season, and I did the same thing. And you go through the interview process, audition tape as well, which is probably the hardest thing for most people applying to reality TV.
Yep.
You can apply, they can reach back out to you. It's like, hey, audition tape now. And it's like, it's cringy. Like doing audition tape is cringy, but you got to kind of bite your tongue and just go for it too. So it does bring you out of your shell, and it gives you this new found confidence. Even if you're a confident guy already going into that whole experience, it does bring you out of your shell a little bit.
And you mentioned the audition tape and all that. Yeah, I tried to be on Big Brother Canada. I've tried to be on The Bachelor as well. And spoiler alert, I have not been picked. So but it was very awkward doing those audition videos because you're obviously trying to sell yourself, but it just feels sometimes weird to be like talking for 3 minutes about how awesome I am. It's just it's a little bit bizarre.
Yeah, no, I feel for that because they do give you some, 4 or 5 questions that they do want answers for, if you've been in love, and just talk about your family, introduce yourself a little bit too. But when you are doing it, I had a friend help me out in the audition, with the audition tape. And I was telling her, she's, her and we've known each other for years, and we just laugh constantly 24/7. So I said, set up the tripod and leave the room. And I'll tell you when we need to adjust or something, because I'm just going to be laughing the whole time. So I was talking to a wall, kind of off center, looking at a wall too. And it's tough. And, for me at that point, I was like, I need a couple beers in me to just like loosen up a bit and go through that. But like I said, it brings you out of your shell. And I banged it out in like one day. So it's just the editing part and making it all come together. But I think the most important thing is just be yourself. They want to see you laugh. They want to see you screw up. It can't be that perfect. They just want to see you, be yourself. So that's the most important part.
And then obviously after the audition, you get accepted, you're on the show, and Katie Thurston is the lead. What was your first impression of Katie?
Yeah, well, Katie's incredible. I think the way she carried herself on her season, she doesn't put up with all the nonsense in the house, and, she's a kind person, puts other people first. And I think the biggest thing that we're always scared of going into these scenarios is the drama, and that's, I always stayed out of the drama. And that's something that, I don't like. And we had amazing guys on this season, as you guys know, just the best bromance ever. And I think Katie really set that in stone for us too. Everyone is putting it on us, and yeah, our actions are going to speak louder than words when we say that, but Katie's the one that really brings the house together and makes sure we're not being assholes, basically, So yeah, it's I was super happy when it was Katie. Strong woman, she's beautiful, and she knows what she wants. So that's what you want in a woman.
Yeah, and you mentioned bromance there, and obviously there's a lot of time to kill when there's one-on-one dates or group dates that you're not on. So what are you guys doing all day when you're not on a date?
That's a good question. It's when we aren't on a date, or if someone else has a one-on-one, like you said, we're just kicking it into the house, man. We're in the hot tub. We're doing interviews throughout the day and sit down chats with the guys, and obviously you're always filmed. Mm-hmm. But you're really just enjoying life. That's one thing I was noticing there. It's the first time you're not like, you don't really know what time it is, and you're just really enjoying life, and we're having fun. And there's so much things you guys don't see that I wish you did, whether that's, Trey and I dancing, and James, Aaron, and I just, playing football and just having fun. It's just sort of like you're just at the house, you're enjoying yourselves, having drinks, having mimosas, at noon. So obviously during the tell-all, bloopers come out, and there's so many funny things now that the deleted scenes you guys don't see. So you're really just kicking it with the guys, and that's why you become so close, because you have basically every single day to just say, hey, listen, I want to know your life story, open up to me about it. And we could just sit down all day in the hot tub and talk to each other. And I've cried in the hot tub with 4 half-naked guys, listen to their life stories. It's the craziest experience ever, man. So I loved it, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
What was your favorite moment on the show that wasn't on air?
Oh, Mike, there's a lot. I would say the full basketball game. That's a given. We played that for a little bit, and it showed how out of shape I was playing that game. I was huffing and puffing halfway on the field, just us dancing, just like hanging out in the sun tanning. Just there's obviously the great world debate. I chirped every single guy in the house, just my funny zingers. Even I was, before every chirp, I was like, hey, Mike, I love you, but by the way. So I knew all the guys. We had about like an hour and a half to like write down all these chirps or little zingers to each other. And no one knew really what to write down, but they knew me playing hockey and me being this Canadian guy. I was done all my chirps in like 5 minutes, and they were all just like, oh, we're going to be worried for Brendan, a little bit, but there's just so much. For myself, even, they didn't show too many of my interactions with Katie, but, we had some great life talks. We had a pretty good connection. I guess the one really cool thing when I had time with Katie, I brought her a little piece of home, and I called it the Canadian gift basket. So I got maple cookies, maple syrup,
Poutine,
some Molson Canadians.
Nice.
And I put it in a basket, and I said, I cracked beers, and I said, this is what life's all about. Like kicking it, having beers on the couch, none of this, obviously there's a connection if I'm still here, but it's like, this is what life's about. It's not all about this honeymoon phase thing. So little things like that, man. I think my time with Katie, I don't need to have the world to really, or I don't need to be on camera just to define what we had. I know Katie and I, we got along great, and she's, I'll be a friend forever. I'll always have her back. So there's so many moments, boys. Like I just even the deleted scenes you guys saw, I'm sure that's just like scraping the surface level. There's so many fun moments.
And you said the word great there. I just made me think right now how great it is that my view is right on the sun, and it is driving me absolutely crazy.
Hey, you're getting a suntan. You're
just like now I'm out of the picture here. Like, am I still even here?
Oh yeah, you're there.
Here, yeah.
You gotta go get some sunscreen, eh, Mike?
Yeah, something like that, eh? Jeez. And you also touched on time. On the show, we always hear about we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time. How little time do you actually then have to be able to, to talk to Katie?
Yeah, it really does vary. It depends really what you want to talk to her about. Obviously, producers know where your mind is and, how good your connection is. So I think the value of time is the most important thing I've realized in not just that scenario, but in life in general. Life's short. And, I would have, even 1 week, if you dive into something very, very important, whether it's about family or just having a really good conversation or sharing an intimate moment, if someone comes and interrupts you, you kind of have to like completely finish that conversation. Like you got to cut it off right there. And the next time you spend with Katie, you have to dive into something way deeper. You have to keep peeling back your layers. So I think it's not a normal scenario where you can just continuously roll off your past conversation. You really do have to strategize and say, well, you know what, we talked about this, and I felt like that sparked more of a connection. So let's now have to dive into like more deeper family scenarios or dark days of my life. So you just constantly have to peel back your layers, and that's why it's such an emotional process. But I would say anywhere from sometimes you have 10 minutes. It depends who's going to be bold enough to like really like push themselves to steal Katie off of you. There's times where I've had 20 plus minutes with her, with great conversations. It feels like it's only like 30 seconds because you're completely obviously distraction free, and you're just looking at her in her eyes and just talking. And the next thing you know, the guy comes in. But we always did it respectfully. We always actually, anytime a guy came in, it's just like we smiled at each other, we hugged each other, and we're like, all right, take care of her, man. It was like such a good, respectful way. It was never an issue. We all knew, yeah, like the guys wanted, it was weird because all the guys wanted to be bold and really steal Katie away. But at the same time, it's like, hey man, like if you need some more time, feel free. That's the respect we had in the house. It was really cool, right? But you do have to be bold. That's why I always had her drink ready at the end. People were calling me Katie's personal bartender, which is fine. But, always had her drink ready and always tried to pull her first and be bold. And there's a few times where I did. So I was consistent with wanting to be bold and make her feel special and give her the attention she needed. Obviously, the world doesn't see that. But like I said, I know what, we shared and I had the best time.
And did you like your? You mentioned that. Did you like your edit? Because I feel we should have seen more of you. I was disappointed we didn't. They didn't have you in more of the episodes.
Yeah, no, I'm not. It's you can't really be too disappointed. For myself, obviously the drama is a huge thing, and people voicing their opinions on people. I feel like when we did get certain people out of the house, we got to a point where everyone was just so close at this point, and we just rallied together as a huge team. And I didn't ever, like, there was really not too much drama afterwards. And if there was, like, I'm a guy to sit back with a beer in my hand on these cocktail parties. And if someone is getting upset at somebody else, I'll listen to both sides. I hate judging things firsthand. I can't just lash out at people. So I'd rather have a conversation about people's behavior or what is going on in the house rather than lashing out. That's just not who I am. And I was raised that way. So I'm much more calm and laid back, I feel like. But my edit, yeah, I mean, I like I said, I wish they showed those interactions with Katie, because I did some really cool things for her, and just to make her feel special. And like I said, it's the little things. You got to show the effort. I mean, that's really all. I felt like, obviously, the whole Blake and I situation as well, that was cut out because there was no drama. We handled it as men, and you know, that's nothing's going to come in between our friendship. And but I'm sure if there was a huge blow up scenario, that would have been aired. So things like that you start seeing. But no, production, all the producers, they're you know, they're like family. They're your best friends in the world. So I can't be upset about the edit. I know. You know, the last couple episodes, it was, yeah, I didn't get that one-on-one and stuff, but I was happy with it all, man. Obviously, you want to just show people your connection, because people are like, why is he still there? But once again, I know why I was there. Yep. You know, I don't need the world to really judge that by an edit.
So you've mentioned Blake a couple times here. We've had Blake on this show before. Blake's Canadian, Michael's Canadian, you're Canadian, I'm Canadian. We're all Canadian.
Bros. We're the Canadian bros.
We're the Canadian, exactly. We're the Canadian bros. So how do you guys actually know each other?
Yeah, so going back, we do have a 4-year age gap. So, you know, growing up, my brother played minor hockey with Blake, and then they played high school hockey together. And then my brother and his friends were just very, very close with Blake. I was like the little brother running around. And when you hit that certain age where you can start having a few wobbly pops, you know, that's when you can kind of bond with each other. And that's when you can start relating to life a little bit more, and you have more in common. So yeah, just over the years, getting closer and closer to Blake and his family. You know, he's someone who I've known for a while. Even through his casting process, I was there by his side, you know, supporting him. You know, you don't want to tell too many people what you're doing. Everything is very confidential. So he trusted me, which is, you know, telling me how his casting process was going, and, you know, helping him with his video, his audition tape a little bit too as well. And play on the same men's league team together. We also have this annual, we call it the Coop Classic, and it's at our buddy's cottage up in Moon River and in Bala. And we have like 15 guys. We all pitch in some money and get steaks. Like, we get the best food in the world. And we build an ice rink, and it takes usually like 8 hours, because, you know, you're having beers, you know, you're taking a little break. We got snow blowers. We basically have like this mini Zamboni. It's insane. So we have sump pumps. We flood the ice. We have little boards. So we do this in Coop Classic. We do a draft. We have a trophy. And obviously I'm in net. My other buddy's in net. And we have a huge tournament. And you're there for, it's like a 2-day, 3-day bender. It's, you know, it's a fun weekend. You boys would enjoy it. I feel like you boys should be there on the podcast set. Just doing one of those things one day. But
that sounds great.
Yeah, we you know, Blake's a part of that as well. But Thursday nights hockey too. That's a thing for all the other guys to escape from their girlfriends and their wives. And then Blake and I are just the single guys. Like, hey, you know, we can do this every night. You guys can't. But yeah, Blake's a great guy, man. He you know, there's so much backlash he's taking, I know, about you know, this whole scenario. I do, you know, when he did show up, all the guys really did have my back, because they were like, if, you know, I would never do that to my friend, you know. So it was a tough scenario, because in a normal world that would never happen, but in the Bachelor world, you know, that's a normal thing for just people to show up, whether you know each other or not. So you couldn't really get upset about that. And he always spoke highly of Katie. Before I even got casted for the show, he was always constantly talking about Katie, and he was very interested. And that was like the tough thing I had to say to the guys when he showed up. Obviously you guys didn't see that, but yeah, I felt I had to protect Blake when he came in, but also protect new guys, because you are trying to stay on a good level playing field with them too, especially early on. But then in the end, the guys, you know, they already love me in the house, I feel like, and they respected me. So when I did tell them about Blake, and he's a great dude, he is here for Katie, the guys kind of said, well, we trust Brendan, we like him, we're gonna like all come together now, you know. So it was pretty simple, no drama.
There you go. Well, you know, as I say, people always trust Canadians because Canadians are just so nice. And, you know, there you go. But
I hear it all the time.
Yeah. You mentioned hockey. Okay. So you're a goalie. People on this podcast know that I was a goalie. Who do you model your game after? And have you ever been in a goalie fight?
Yeah, I have been in a goalie fight.
Oh, I'm so jealous, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. It was wild too. All my buddies will vouch for me for this one. But Yeah, but, well, I mean, you love Pricey, right? Like Carey
Of course.
Price is just that guy that you know, he's so calm. I've always tried to model my gear after him the same way, the same laces, the jersey tuck. I always say is if you look good, you feel good, you play good. I was one of those guys. Sometimes I did worry about how I looked on the ice rather than how I was playing, right? Adam, you know how that is. So my dad used to just yell at me too. He's like, who cares how you look? Just play and stop the puck. Like stop adjusting. And I was like, that's just a thing. Like we have to look good. But yeah, I would say Pricey. I mean, like that's who I wanted to be when I was younger too. But there's so many old school goalies too I grew up with. Curtis Joseph, I loved watching him. Even like at Belfort, like Eddie the Eagle. You know what I mean? My brother and his buddies on Thursday nights, they call me Eddie the Eagle because they think I'm a little wild sometimes, so they call me Eddie the Eagle. But there's so many great goalies, man. Like even now, like Vasilevsky, like it's just goaltending's getting so much more insane with just like not just the gear, but like the saves these guys are making and how athletic they're becoming, right? And it's only evolving, it's only getting better. So it is super cool. My goalie fight, I'll tell you this one.
Yeah.
There was a hit from behind in the corner on the other end. And their team jumped in. It was kind of like a line brawl. And then their goaltender was basically going to the corner to like jump one of our players. And he kind of just turned and looked down at me. I knew I was gonna absolutely destroy this kid. I was one of the biggest goalies in the league. And he just started skating down at me. And I was literally like, it's so funny. I was so calm. We were up 4-1 too. So I was like, okay, this will be good. I'll get the win today. I'll get the win in the fight. And, and then the fans will love it too. So I literally just I said to myself, I said, does he really want to fight? So like, I whispered that to myself. I took off my mask, literally laid it down super calm and like took off my glove, threw my blocker down. And I skated towards center. And as I was skating towards center, I was like, okay, I want to, you know how the chest protectors are. I'm just not a fan of throwing punches with those. So I undid my chest protector and took my arm out of the loop. I don't know if he did that or not. I do have a video somewhere, which I can I'll send to you guys or something. I have a couple videos. So we hit center, we do a little twirl and we're at the outside dot basically. And I just grab him. We're going at it. He falls. I asked him, I was like, okay, you done? Are you good? You should show the respect there. And he comes with he's on one knee and he comes with a hammer fist over top, hits my head. And I got so upset, picked him back up, went at it. Russ finally came in. We hugged each other. I had long flow. I had long hair too. I was throwing my hair back. And so I get in the change room and our trainer comes in and she's like my shirt was all bloody. So I was looking in the mirror looking for anything, but he had 6 staples in his head.
Oh my God.
So it was one of those things. Yeah. And then he messaged me on, I don't know if it was Instagram or Twitter or Facebook the next day. He's like, hey man, great fight. He was a year older than me. And I think that was or maybe 2 years older. I think it was one of his last years playing. Maybe it could have been, but he just I just wanted to fight. I knew I would get crushed, but I just wanted to have a goalie fight. And it's the same with you. You didn't have one, but I would have got to that point where it's I'm just going to drop the gloves with someone and just do it, at that point in your junior career. So it was a successful fight. I had a lot of even with players too, there was all the time. I loved to chirp on the ice. I told my teammates, I didn't need to be protected too much. I love screwing with guys a little bit, even going behind the net and laying the body a bit too. So I had a lot of penalty minutes, I would say, for sure, for no absolute reason, but, you got to kind of spark the boys a little bit, once in a while.
Well, absolutely. And, as they say, there's the goalie code. And if the other guy goes in there, you don't have to fight. But you have to go down there and grab someone because it's an odd man, right? So I was offered to fight once and I turned it down. It was in a year of AAA in a draft year. And I probably shouldn't do this, but it's one of my biggest regrets to this day, not getting.
And that's why Brendan didn't select you as the goalie that he modeled his game after, because you turned that fight down.
That's right.
And that's why you run a podcast now. You could have been in the NHL by this point.
Exactly. Now, Brendan, in your last year in the commonly known WA HL. You had an 8-5 record, 1 shutout, 2.25 GAA. I don't know how accurate that actually is, but I googled your name.
Well, when was this?
The 2019.
The wave. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I have you can pull up, like, I have a hyphenated last name, right? So I went with my dad's last name when I played hockey. I didn't use Scanzano, so that's why nothing will come up. So I could send you my my stats for sure. But yeah, with the Wave Hockey League, it's really good hockey. I mean, it's all basically like ex-pro guys, ex-university guys. We play in Burlington. My brother's on my team, and we have a lot of ex-OHL guys that they're great players still, and it's very competitive hockey. So that's something that we're looking forward to. We didn't want to do a summer league again. We're just going to wait till winter. We do want to enjoy the summers with the patios right now. So it was a tough scenario to be like, hey guys, are we going to get in the league this summer? But it's been weird, like kind of like a couple years off, I would say, right? A year and a half or something for us. Like, I don't even know where my gear is right now. It's probably somewhere in the storage. I don't know. And I'm just so worried putting on those skates, seeing the steel. I'm just so stressed out to look at my gear right now. Who knows? And how brittle it is. You know, when it's so dry and it's locked up in that bag. Yeah. Adam knows. Yeah. Because I used to be a guy too. Before getting ready for the game, I would spray my equipment with water. So it's like loosened up. Like it was like the weirdest thing. Man. Yeah. I had my quirks. I had my superstitions. I had to spray my stuff, right leg in at all times.
Oh yeah.
And just sort of, I wasn't very quiet. I was always loud in the room too. We used to wrestle too. I used to wrestle guys in the room, like do UFC matches and lots of dancing too. We put on tracks and we'd like all do like this EDM rave in the room sometimes before the game just to get you hyped up. We had some weird moments before the game, but
that's great. I had a question. I've always wanted to know the answer to this. It's completely off topic from what we were just discussing, but I've always wondered this about the Bachelor show, and for some reason, I've never gotten a good answer about it. Why, whenever people leave, they never wear their seatbelts in the vehicle afterwards, including yourself? Is it just a drive for like 5 seconds around the corner and then okay, we're stop taping? Like no one ever wears a seatbelt.
Yeah, it's funny because as I was in driving away with my bags, I was probably like 5 minutes down the road, and then they're like, put your seatbelt on, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I forgot, because like you go in there and there's so much going on in your mind. You're like, right. I'm leaving. I didn't really get a chance to say goodbye to any of the guys. I got to say goodbye to Blake. You say goodbye to Katie, and then you say goodbye to your, a few producers that are there. And that there's so much, your mind's kind of going in 100 directions. So when you sit in there, you're just like, the last thing you're thinking about is the seatbelt. I think anyone could even vouch for me too. It's a weird thing. But, we had I was filming the whole way driving away from the resort, and they obviously show the scene that I don't have a seatbelt on. It's funny because I did eventually put it on, but
it's just so funny.
There's so much going through your mind. That's a tough thing, even that night, I didn't think, I knew potentially, I was going to be leaving and, saying goodbye to Katie. I had that feeling, that evening, but, when you kind of walk away, you don't realize like, hey, to say goodbye to the guys, you just kind of get up and leave, and you don't take it. It's not, you don't take it for granted, but part of me looking back is like, hey boys, like I might not come back. Like, I just want to give you guys a hug, because I'm the only, like there at that point, I'm the only Canadian along with Blake, even when other guys leave at certain rose ceremonies, they're going to see each other. They're in the States. It's easy for them to get around and connect. And it's like, when you do see these guys walk away, it's like you cry. Like I cried like a lot when certain guys left. A lot of people were crying. So it's a special bond with these guys. It's a special moment. But as for the seatbelt thing, Mike, it's a great question. That's a great question why we don't put it on. And we're also not on, like, at that point, we're not on the main highway. We are on to even get into the resort, it was like a 10-minute drive from the main road, because you're in the middle of the desert too. So I'm just like, hey, there's no cars around us. I don't want to clip it in. And it wouldn't look good because you're dressed, you're looking pretty decent. You're looking pretty decent. So having a seatbelt there would just look odd, I would say.
That's the best answer. That's the best answer I've got. Everyone else was like, yeah, I actually have no idea. So
yeah,
that satisfies my answer finally.
I'm trying.
Absolutely. Now, Brendan, before we let you go, You know what? You had a close call there. You were, you know, fifth or sixth guy, I think, left on the show. Are we going?
Seventh guy.
Seventh guy. You know, the Canadian trying to give you some credit here, of course.
Yeah. Hey, as long as it's a top 10 first round, you know, that's
top 10. Yeah, first rounder. You know, good development sort of thing.
Yeah.
But moving forward, what do you think? Are we going to see you on a Bachelor dating show again, or what are you thinking?
You know, there's always opportunities, I think, moving forward for things. You know, if the opportunity comes up, I'm definitely going to be all for it. I am, you know, officially single now after my departure and stuff too. And if the opportunity is there and the timing works out, I'm all for it. I definitely want to, you know, see if, you know, you can find love in these shows. I know it's such a unique experience. I know you can get feelings for someone. So, and it's also 2021, boys. I feel like if you can find love on finding someone on Instagram or dating apps, like you can meet somebody on a dating show. You know what I mean? It is possible. But I guess you guys got to stay tuned. I guess we'll see where the next few months takes me. And I guess I'm sure we'll be on again. I'm sure we'll keep in touch for sure. And I hope to see you guys, you know, downtown at some point or grab a couple beers.
Or 15 or so Molson Canadians. That sounds.
Molson Canadian.
Then we'll, like you said earlier, we'll interview the guys, and everyone, of course, will have many beers, and it'll be a debauchery, and it'll be awesome.
We got to get you to the Coop Classic.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, we'll get us to the Coop Classic. We'll do some play-by-play. I haven't strapped the pads on in about 2 years. I tore both my groins, but that's okay. We'll get out there. We'll play some hockey and enjoy. But Brendan, again, thank you so much for your time this morning. All the best you're going forward. Enjoy Muskoka. And
thanks, boys.
Congrats again on a great showing on Katie's season of The Bachelorette.
Thanks, boys. I appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. And once again, it was a pleasure. And you guys are great. So thank you again.
Ladies, gentlemen, it's the final rose tonight.
Thanks again to Brendan Scanzano, Toronto's own, for joining us here on the Bros Ceremony podcast. Lots to unpack there, Michael. All in all, an all-star appearance by Brendan, and who knows, maybe we'll have him on again.
I absolutely hope so. And he talked about earlier in the season, throughout the season, I should say, that him and the other guys had such a blossoming bromance. Certainly seemed to me throughout that interview, you and him had the ultimate one about goaltending and how you were bonding over how you guys were all-star goaltenders on the cusp of the NHL and perhaps still going to make it. So, it seemed like you guys were just fast friends on that one. He was just an absolute beauty.
Still going to make it, Michael. I mean, that's some high praise right there. Now, I wish we had discussed, you know, some great goaltenders from the past, you know, Roman Cechmanek, Robert Esch, Peter Sidorkowicz. We didn't quite get to those. Maybe on the second appearance Brendan has on the Bros Ceremony podcast, we'll discuss those goaltenders at length. But in all seriousness, note, thanks again to Brendan for joining us. Looking forward to seeing what's up for his journey going forward. Will we see him on Paradise? He left a bit of a teaser in that episode, so maybe not.
I'm thinking Canadian Bachelor in Paradise, perhaps, for him. That would seem to make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? Which I think I saw Kevin, who's I believe the bartender. What's his name? Kevin Wendt, I believe.
Yes,
his last
nice,
name.
Good, nice.
I saw him post something online recently, a couple days ago, about how he's like, I don't know exactly when it's going to be airing, but it will be the fall. So I'm going to predict Brandon's going to be on that for sure. And he was great. And I love that I've asked the seatbelt question for so many people, and he actually gave a succinct answer that kind of made sense for why nobody ever wears them. So, because obviously, generally speaking, probably your best content is going to be when the person first gets into the limo, because they're obviously most upset over, as opposed to 30 minutes later. So yeah, initially, I guess that's why they don't wear the seatbelts, and then eventually they put them on.
So will Brendan be on Bachelor in Paradise Canada? Will he be joining you on Bachelor in Paradise Canada? I guess, Michael, as they say, only time will tell. Now, a couple other nuggets from the Men Tell All, because there's a lot of drama that went on. Jason showed up there for a proposal. I think that was sort of, any other things that really stood out to you in the Men Tell All?
Just that. Yeah. The video of him and Caitlin proposing, and then she yelling, and you couldn't even understand what she was saying. To her credit, she was like, afterwards, she's like, I don't even know what I was screaming there. But there are obviously always those filler content for those things. But as we said, like there's a few men that weren't there for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it just really felt like they're extremely, very much more than even maybe more so than ever, just really, really dragging that one out. So I did find it was really quite funny when Katie accidentally called Aaron, who, by the way, Aaron just seems to be angry at everybody. It's just, I don't know why he always had beef with everyone on the show, it seemed. But yeah, when she called him Thomas, I thought that was a highlight.
That made, I think, my entire condo building heard me laugh when Katie said that. Thanks, Thomas, and then everyone's whoa, like that was a highlight for sure. But yeah, you mentioned not all the guys were there. Thomas made an appearance via Zoom or whatever, online WebEx, whatever it was, and again, I don't know. It just seemed very scripted and very it wasn't very heartfelt.
Very wooden. I just felt it was very, just didn't really say much. You just have very expressionless, emotionless. It's just, it didn't really have any emotional connection at all, it seemed. Whereas, the guys who were talking to her, like I love my man Trey, I picked him at the start of the season.
Yeah.
He obviously seemed, I don't know for sure. And you obviously, I guess, do know who's on this upcoming Bachelor in Paradise season. I'm going to predict Trey would be on there. I honestly don't know. He just seemed like the nicest dude for sure. Excluding, of course, Brendan, obviously.
Of course. Now, you mentioned, do I know who's on the season? I remember reading out the names to you, but which names did I read? I couldn't tell you.
Because you said there's 3 or 4, I think, from this current season, but you didn't say their names, of course, because you didn't want to spoil the fact that they could be. It's always so weird when they did that. I think we talked about that before, maybe either on this podcast or off camera, so to speak. How I think it was Nick Vial a couple of years ago. Yep. Like he was still in the current season, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna be on Paradise." Well, cool. Now we know he didn't win the heart of the Bachelorette. It was just very, very bizarre. So I don't know why they released those names.
Well, no, specifically with that. So the Bachelor in Paradise, this was 3 or 4 years ago now. The Bachelor in Paradise finale was going to air the next night, and Nick was still on the show. But that night they announced him as the next Bachelor.
Right. That's
it was like, what?
Yeah. That's I guess obviously there's reasons behind them doing these things. So perhaps they're like, the amount of people who'll be annoyed by that result. There's more people will be excited about what's going to come. So that there has to be a reason or method behind their madness. You would think anyway, or else maybe they're just stupid.
Well, Michael, you mentioned what's to come, and what's to come starting tonight. Hometown dates, 3 men left. Justin, Greg, Blake, only 3 men left vying for Katie's heart. Where will her heart take her next? Only time will tell. It all gets underway tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on City TV if you're watching live, or if you're like me and a bunch of other members of Bachelor Nation like yourself. Whenever you're watching it, try not to follow any spoils, and hopefully you get to enjoy the next episode of The Bachelorette. It's about to get juicy. I have a good feeling about that. Michael, before we sign off, any final thoughts?
The final thoughts are just, him and Blake, Brendan and Blake just seem like they're, as we were saying, I wish we would have seen more of those moments from the show. Because that's oftentimes I hear from people. They want more like real moments per se, as opposed to some other like fluff and nonsense from the shows or whatever. I think I know for a fact, a large faction of the people, women who watch the show, watch it to see the bromance and how great it is that the guys are just getting along instead of at each other's throats, which again, this season, it seemed like, as we've talked about, like Hunter and then Thomas and Carl, and there was always a different villain, it seemed like. So I wish they would have shown more of the Brendan and Blake, than them being buddies and stuff, because clearly they are good friends. And I think that would have been, I understand you want to have some drama in there, but I think they also should have more human element or more normal elements in the show as well.
You know what? I couldn't say it better myself. That's just very well said. And it was great to have, it was great to have Brendan on the show to give us that inside scoop, inside baseball, if you will, on what went on, especially, like during when they weren't on dates. What were they doing all day? They're hanging out. They're, getting each other's life story essentially. And again, Brendan, thank you for coming on the show. Looking forward to future appearances on the Bros Ceremony and much more. Well, Michael, 25 episodes in the books now. The big 25. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We have episodes coming out every Monday on YouTube, as well as clips throughout the week on Instagram. For Michael the Hound Dog Harrison, I'm Adam Scully. Thanks so much for joining us right here on the Bros Ceremony.